All right. So everybody, thanks so much for listening to us. If you're listening to us on one of the podcasting sites, please like, subscribe, and share this interview. We try to get these interviews out to as many people as possible. If you are listening to this on the radio, obviously you can't share, but we thank you for listening. We are doing another dog interview, and it seems like it's either politics or dogs where we get all the viewership and also the listens on the radio. So we're going to keep doing those topics. I prefer dogs more so than politics myself, but that's part of the course. But anyways, we're going to be talking about an organization called Proud, and they do raise dogs at the University of Delaware for an organization called the Seeing Eye Organization. We're going to be talking about that. Taylor Trent is the president. She's going to be starting off, but as we were talking before the interview, it's going to be kind of a round robin thing where, whoever wants to answer can answer it. So Taylor, and I'm going to go through everybody else's names. So Taylor, Erin, Caitlin, Nicole, we really appreciate your time today, and we're looking forward to really speaking about this because you guys are really doing important work for people with disabilities in general. So thanks so much for coming on here and speaking with us.
Yeah, for sure. So we are the executive board of a club at the University of Delaware. Like you said, we are called PROUD, which stands for the Puppy Raisers of the University of Delaware. The organization that we serve is called the Seeing Eye, which is based out of Morristown, New Jersey. And we are part of what makes the whole organization happen. We are puppy raisers. So kind of what we do as a club is we volunteer to take these puppies on at 7 weeks old. We foster them. They stay with us until they're about 15 to 18 months old. They grow up with us in our households. They learn manners, they learn socialization, they get experience and exposure to some of the tasks that they might face as their future as guide dogs. And most importantly, just basic obedience is kind of what we do with these puppies. And at the end of the time with us at about 15 to 18 months old, they go on and they go to what we call formal training at the Seeing Eye, where they're working with licensed and professional trainers they're called guide dog mobility instructors. So those are the ones that actually teach them those task-based skills, how to serve an actual visually impaired person. So we're just a really small part of what goes on behind the Seeing Eye, but our club at UD has about 250 members comprised of puppy raisers and puppy sitters. In the club right now, we have about 12 dogs, but there are plenty of other raising clubs that serve the Seeing Eye throughout Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, Pennsylvania. But here at UD, our club was started 21 years ago, actually by someone who works at the Seeing Eye. Her name is Kim Winnington. She founded the club at UD when she was a student, and she raised puppies and then moved on to actually take a job there. And now it's her career and she loves it. So yeah, so that's kind of what we do.
Besides that case, can you lay it out for the viewers what the difference is between a Seeing Eye dog and a service dog or a therapy dog or a companion, whatever it may be?
So basically, Seeing Eye dogs are raised specifically through the Seeing Eye. If they don't come from the Seeing Eye, they can't be trademarked as a Seeing Eye dog. Squeaker, sorry. Service dogs all go through a specific training that gives them the proper skill set to know how to behave in public while still assisting their person with whatever skill they may need. So there's the mobility, or there's a medical alert, or there's Seeing Eye. Whereas therapy dogs are more so just kind of a companion sort of thing that just does, instead of doing a specific service for the person, they're more so just there sort of for emotional support, I think. Is that?
So I'm sure that you guys get this all the time, with dealing with service dogs in general. I've done this in volunteering with Canine Companions for Independence. I've saw this too. When you go out and you're with this dog and you're trying to train these dogs in general, people grab the vest, they try to jump on the dog and do all these kinds of crazy things. I've had many experiences with this where it really gets me a little fired up because the dog is trying to perform a task for a person, or in your case, you're trying to train these dogs to do a cat task for someone else who you don't even know what they really need. You know, they need it for visual, but you know, they may live in New York City, they may live in the country. They have to be trained for all these different environments. So can you talk about dealing with these people, whether it's kids, adults, that come up and they pull on the vest, or they try to distract the dog, or they go, you know, they make these sounds with their mouth, and they're, you know, and they're calling the dogs and stuff. So anybody that wants to talk about that has had some, you know, crazy experiences with people in general that are trying to distract these dogs from their responsibilities.
I think a lot of the issue is people just not understanding. I mean, it happens, especially I find that when the younger the puppy is, the more it happens. And as the puppy kind of grows up, I find that it stops. But I've definitely had my fair share of some strange encounters, and I just try my best to educate them. And most of the time they're really receptive once you kind of explain it to them, and they understand, and they apologize even though they don't need to apologize. It's more just not understanding. Every once in a while you'll still have a problem that just continues, and at that point you just say thank you and you walk away. But a lot of the time it's just people don't understand, you know, the difference between an emotional support dog or a service dog. They don't know that it's dangerous for you to distract a service dog. I like to give the example of if a dog was tasked to alert to an oncoming seizure, if the dog is distracted and misses that oncoming signal, the person can just fall where they are. And usually once you kind of explain that to them, they are much more receptive to it.
As we keep going into the interview, again, this is the Proud Cub at UD. They do raise CNI dogs for the CNI organization, and it's out of Morristown, New Jersey, correct? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and again, it's Erin, Caitlin, Taylor, and Nicole here on Fire Breathing Up. So let's go into this, because obviously, unfortunately, COVID started in 2020 of March. It's been going on for almost 2 years. Hopefully, we pray that this is somewhat coming to the end. It seems like it is, but knock on wood, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. But, but anyways, how is COVID? Because you girls, and if I'm not correct on this, you can call me up, but you girls were all in at UD during this time raising these dogs. So obviously, you know, throughout this time, it was tough to socialize with, you know, with having the dogs rather socialize with people, with other dogs in general. There was so many unknowns about this virus. You know, can you talk about this time period of COVID and how it hurt, obviously, you guys, and you know, like it's hurt me and everybody else in the country, but also it's hurt, you know, these dogs in general, and trying to get them to socialize with people and also get them to socialize with other dogs while being safe?
Yeah, so COVID really did kind of change the way that our club ran for quite some time, because we're so used to meeting in person so frequently and having our dogs together and having that kind of practice in social scenarios. So we did quite a bit of revamping and, you know, resorting to make those kind of challenges and present them in a way at home where we didn't have to be out and about. So obviously via Zoom, we were still able to have those meetings, but kind of one of the interesting things that we did, especially in the heat of things when we weren't leaving home, was trying to still give these puppies exposure to things that they're going to see in the outside world. So we did a lot of really interesting challenges, like having them walk over tinfoil and having them, you know, walk past pots and pans clanging, some things that we can replicate the hustle and bustle while still being inside, not around other people. You know, a lot of people, you know, underestimate just simple things around puppies, like even clapping, just people clapping for dogs, they all react differently. So those are all really good, you know, things to expose those puppies to. So it was just a matter of getting creative and, you know, still trying to do it, taking them on walks around the neighborhood, you know, masked in the beginning, and still trying to get them that energy release that they need. But as college students, even, it was super difficult, you know, having these puppies. We all joked as having quarantine puppies instead of quarantine babies, and still trying to get them through these big milestones, because a big part of being a puppy raiser is hitting those milestones of, you know, being able to take them certain places and watching their confidence build. So doing that at home, I know most of us had, I'm pretty sure we all had puppies during, you know, when COVID was pretty bad. So I don't know if anybody else wants to speak on their experience, but I know it was a challenge for all of us.
Yeah, it's definitely, both of my puppies have been through COVID quarantines at some point. And there are 4 dogs in total in this house. So definitely getting creative. We would try and do one new thing every day. So one day we would focus on different surfaces. So I would go outside and just in my immediate vicinity, try, instead of concrete, go on gravel. There were some playgrounds where it was like the rubber pellets and we would walk across the rubber pellets, finding grates and stuff to walk over. You'd be really surprised how some pups are definitely not used to it and they don't know how to walk across it. So practicing different stuff like that. And it's just a matter of getting creative, taking a look what's around you and trying to adapt to everything you can.
Did you see any? Oh, I'm sorry, Caitlin. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I had a little bit of a different COVID experience, actually, because the COVID timeline got pushed back a little bit. So dogs are going back a little bit later. And that's actually how I was able to get my first dog. So I got her over the summer at 15 months old. So she generally would have either been returning to the seeing eye within the next month or 2. So I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to get a dog. So for me, COVID, well, it's been very hard, also gave me my first dog. So definitely very thankful for that. So
did you guys see any kind of differences in the dogs? Because I'm thinking as a club, you guys are going out together. You're all pretty friendly with each other. The dogs are all hanging out with each other. At this time, you're not going to as many games together and, campus events in general. And I'm sure those dogs are getting used to these other dogs that, they're hanging around with them all the time. And all of a sudden it's pretty much gone. So did you see kind of any effect on the dogs?
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a dog who really did not get to go to many club events at all for the time that I had her. I had just kept her for about 5 months while another puppy raiser couldn't keep her. And she did not really go to many club events at all due to going into heat. So we stayed at home and, the biggest part of having a puppy is getting to take them to that club events from a young age and they start getting used to it. So when you have a young puppy that isn't going to those events at such a young age, they start to get restless and you try to throw them into it later in the game. It's definitely a little bit more of a challenge, but like we've said, it's all about just getting creative and trying to find other sources for that outlet of energy. But I feel like it's definitely brought us together as a club over COVID, trying to, we all just sit on Zoom and bounce ways off of each other. We can talk about what we're working on and struggling with our puppies and still be together, even though we can all be in different bedrooms and different houses and still be able to work and, face those challenges as a team, like we would when we were in person.
And the technology connecting all of us makes it a lot easier. So at the time, I was having a really hard time with one of my dogs and cutting her nails. And I was able to FaceTime with our club leader, Kim, and the president at the time. And we just sat there on FaceTime and I was showing them, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? How should I try instead? So even though we couldn't be together in person, they were still kind of bouncing ideas off and still able to get feedback on the dogs and everything.
In college, everybody's partying, they're trying all kinds of different new things, and you guys are raising puppies. What made you want to go into that? Because, like I said, everybody's doing all these different things in their lives and trying to figure it out. You guys are raising puppies, and I'm sure that's, taking a little bit of time out of your social life to, do different things that maybe you can't do with the puppies.
Yeah, so when I came to college, I actually didn't know about this club at first. And my roommate at the time said, I'll be back in a couple hours. I'm going to a puppy meeting. And I was doing homework and then I wasn't doing homework. I was going to a puppy meeting. And it worked out nicely because I'm majoring in pre-vet. So being able to have a dog from the puppy age is showing me all of these different things, and I learn things in classes and I can go home and I can see oh yeah, that makes sense. But it kind of made sense for me to be involved with puppies since I'm going through pre-vet.
I knew about this club coming into college. It's what made me tour the school. I just saw it in a news article, and that's kind of what pushed me over the edge of coming to UD. So I knew going in that this is definitely something that I wanted to do. And pretty much all of my friends are people I met in the club, whether they went into raising or not. So for me, I mean, I feel like a big part of my social circle at school is puppy club. And I mean, I'm an RA on campus, so I'm not a super big party animal, but you know, I find that, you know, people go through the same thing I'm going through with the puppies, and you can still talk about it. You can still go out, or hey, can you watch my puppy so I can go get some work done or something. And I always joke that I spent my 21st birthday with Taylor's puppy that had just arrived at 6 weeks, and then my own puppy that had just arrived at six weeks. So that's how I spent my 21st birthday in my apartment with dogs.
Hey,
And
that's
you would be
better than
really
people.
surprised. You would be really surprised how much time management you will learn from having a puppy, and how
Right.
well it will help you to manage everything else in your life as a college student. That's definitely one of the biggest things about it, is you have to manage your time because you've got a dog that depends on you.
Caitlin, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, college is the best time to raise a dog. This was my first chance to have a dog. My parents aren't really pet people. My first dog changed that. She's now the favorite child. But I mean, college is the perfect place to raise a dog because they get exposed to so many things. And you also have such a tight-knit community that's there for you. So I think if I was raising a dog on my own, I would have struggled a lot more. But if I had issues or questions, there was just so many people to reach out. So I think that's part of the reason why raising in college is so manageable. It's just because of the community we have.
I'm going to kind of combine the next two questions together, but it's basically, the first question is what kind of breeds are involved in the C&I dog organization, and also how many puppies are in the club?
So the CI has golden retrievers, lab retrievers, lab golden mixes, and German shepherds. And I believe in Proud right now we have about 12 dogs.
Oh, wow.
We've
So-
had a
They're
lot
on the
more
way.
in the past, too. I think the highest I saw was 27 at one time.
Wow, that's a lot.
So yeah, we've definitely had quite a few in the club.
The CNI
Okay.
does also occasionally use poodles, generally for people with allergies.
How do you guys socialize these dogs with people and also with other dogs? Because other dogs, it's a hit or miss. You know, the dog could be very well trained, the dog might not, and you worry about putting these dogs in danger with these other dogs, and also with people acting crazy. People are insane right now. So how do you guys do that in a safe manner, I guess I should say?
So we always have the option to not have our dog meet another dog or be greeted by a person. So if someone comes up and you're in a rush, or my dog liked to sometimes try to sniff other people because she would be like, oh, someone's gonna say hi to me. So obviously we also work on not greeting people because that's just as important as greeting people. So you can just very politely say the dog's in training. I don't want if you would please not greet the dog. Generally, people are pretty good and they come up and ask like, oh, is the dog working? Can I not say hi? Just like, yeah, it's in training. I'm raising it, be a seeing eye dog. And they kind of move on with their day. Same thing with other dogs. Of course, sometimes there's some sticky situations, but for the most part, people are pretty respectful.
Okay. Anyone else before we...
So when I am working through stuff with my pup, I definitely go by their vibes, I guess. I don't push them to meet a certain agenda. I go at their pace. So, if they're not comfortable with large crowds of people or seeing a lot of different people at once, we'll go somewhere and watch people from a distance. I just call it people watching. And once they're more comfortable with that, we can move into, small groups of people, just walking past them, sitting and watching them, and then walking away, all that kind of stuff. I had my puppy work up to being really excited around people, but then she got too used to people coming and greeting her, and she would automatically go towards people when we were working. So then we changed gears to, we're going to work on just ignoring these people when we're working. But we definitely follow the puppy's pace and the puppy's lead.
Oh, and again, for people that are listening, this is the Proud organization at University of Delaware. They do raise seeing eye dogs, and definitely check them out. We're going to give the website at the end of the interview, and I'll even, put it in the description box for anybody that wants to check them out. What do you feel like the most valuable experience you guys have had while raising a puppy in this club?
I actually got the opportunity to meet a working guide last year. We had a club trip to Rehoboth. It was on the off season when dogs are allowed on the beach, and we went there, walked along the boardwalk, and got to go, take them into the water and see them run around, which was super fun. But while we were walking along, one of the store owners came out and stopped us, and they're like, "Oh, are you raising dogs for guide dogs?" Which is very common question. You got a big pack of puppies all wearing a vest. Everyone wants to come up and talk to you. And he asked us if we could stop and wait a moment because his partner was blind and had a guide dog. So he ran, grabbed his partner. He came out with his guide dog, and we got the opportunity to speak to both the handler and his partner, and just hearing the difference that these dogs can make in someone's life. I mean, they were both crying, thanking us for raising dogs because their life has been changed for that. And then it was actually a very emotional day. On the walk back towards the beach, we ran into a lady who stopped us and also was like, "Oh, are you raising guide dogs? Oh, this is so wonderful." My niece, who was there, was like 5 years old, was blind, and she was like, "Oh, we want to have her get a guide dog at some point." And the girl loved the dogs, was petting everybody. We were giving visual descriptions of the dogs, and then we were able to talk to the aunt about the dogs, and she was like, "Oh, what a difference this will make in her life." So hearing those stories and getting to meet that firsthand is definitely life-changing.
Is there any kind of fundraising for that, or are you guys just putting your own money into raising the dogs?
So the Seeing Eye is a nonprofit organization. So there's always the opportunity to make a donation to the Seeing Eye. The money that goes into, visually impaired people pay very little money for their guide dogs compared to what it actually costs to raise a guide dog from start to finish. A lot of the donations go towards the breeding station, helping keep the puppies happy, healthy, and, moving forward, growing and in their happy homes. Puppy raisers, as a family, we get stipends from the Seeing Eye, and those stipends are possible because of the donations that people make to the Seeing Eye. So those stipends help us to offset the cost of food, and the medical bills are also paid for as well. So that kind of stuff wouldn't be possible without donors and people who religiously support our organization, and make this possible to keep it so cheap for visually impaired people to have those forever matches. So if you're interested, I know you said there is a website, the Seeing Eye has a website, we can link that at the end. A big thing right now with the light of Betty White passing is they actually named a Seeing Eye puppy after Betty. So there is a sponsored pup named Betty, and we hope that she'll raise on, and she was a huge supporter of the Seeing Eye, Betty White was. So we just wanted to kind of honor her with that. And it was a really cool project that they did. But you can always make a donation on the Seeing Eye's website. If you're interested, you can also follow them on Facebook. We have all sorts of donor giving days where donations will be matched. So that's a huge part of our organization and how we do upkeep these puppies.
What do you hope that people learn from this interview today?
There's so many things that I could say one answer isn't going to really capture everything, but I think the main takeaway that I want people to know is that, service dogs are dogs that are trained to perform tasks. And these service dogs, these guide dogs, Seeing Eye dogs make a huge difference in people's lives. It gives them back their independence. And it's really life-changing. So what we do, well, it's really hard to raise these dogs and then give them back. It's really rewarding to see what they go on and do in their future and how they change people's lives. And just educating people on, just because your dog can get a vest from Amazon. It's not your service dog.
Right.
And you doing that puts actual service dogs and their handlers in danger. But yeah, we get to impact a lot of lives, whether it's someone who's visually impaired or their family or just strangers we meet in public that stop and chat with us. So it's definitely really, really rewarding.
So how do you guys do it and raise these dogs throughout your whole college experience? Some of you guys have raised two dogs or at least one dog, and then you give them back. How does that happen?
Definitely rough. My dog actually just returned last Wednesday.
Oh.
It was an emotional day, still recovering, but honestly, she was born to go out and do work, and she loves working so much. I mean, I would grab her vest and her tail would be wagging. She'd be like, yes, let's go. So knowing how much she loves the job and how great she's going to do and the lives that she's going to change definitely makes it easier. Getting another dog also makes it easier. So a lot of puppy raisers return one dog and pick up the next dog, but definitely just knowing how ready the dog is and how much they're going to change someone's life makes it easier.
Yeah, I mean, with every dog that you take and send back, I don't know if you could hear that, but that was Octavia. It never gets easier to send a dog back. People think that, the first one's rough and the second one won't be so bad. It's really difficult every single time, and Taylor has done it the most out of all of us. My first dog, I knew she was being released when she went back, so it wasn't quite the same experience, but it's definitely rough. It never gets easy, but especially at the end when you go to see their town walk, so when they work with their instructor and you get to see everything they've learned, and then once they get matched and you get that letter saying that they've been matched and they are with their person and the brief description that we get, it definitely reminds us why we're doing this.
I guess, Taylor, since I know you're graduating, what do you hope your legacy is with this club of Proud?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm lucky enough to know that my journey with the Seeing Eye is not over. When I graduate come in the spring, I will be joining and staying involved with the Newcastle County Club where I reside. But the really fortunate part over the last 2 years of serving on executive board has been watching the club grow through such a difficult time in the pandemic and seeing how we've all bonded and really become a family and just, stuck together and remembered even in the poorest of times what we're doing and why we do it. And just keeping that in the back of our minds as we, face our own trials as college students on its own, let alone with the pandemic in the mix. But I'm really proud of how close we've all become and how open we are with one another and able to help one another whenever we need it, because raising a puppy as a college student isn't easy. It's not. But we all have each other's backs at the end of the day. And that's kind of how we get through supporting one another and just being there and knowing that we're all in the same boat, doing it for the same thing that we're all passionate about. So that's what I remember at the end of the day. And when I graduate, I'll be happy to see them take over and see where it goes.
I'll just get into these audience questions quick. So I know, Taylor, you said you're going to stay raising puppies after you leave the club and graduate this year. Is anyone else, when they graduate, do you see this as something like you will keep on doing as you leave besides Taylor?
Yeah, so I'll be graduating at the same time as Taylor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and my puppy, I'm going to take a gap year before I apply to school in the future.
Okay.
So I will be continuing to raise Eva. She's only 9 months, 10 months, something along those lines. How old is Francis? Okay, so the 9 months. So I will be continuing to raise Eva. And even after Eva goes back, I still plan to be involved with the Seeing Eye in one way or another. It won't be through Proud specifically, but my local club is the Carroll County Club in Maryland. So even if I'm not raising, being there to help puppy sit or to help with the Seeing Eyes mission, spreading the word, donating, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Anyone else? Caitlin, Erin?
Yeah,
I know Erin's doing vet school, so I'm sure
in
she'll
area.
be.
As long
go
as
ahead,
I'm
Caitlin.
in area, I'm definitely planning on trying to stay involved and continue to raise puppies.
We'll move forward. So how do the dogs get their names? That was an audience question.
So the seeing eye does name all of the puppies. So each litter that comes out gets assigned a different letter. So like the first litter that's born during their fiscal year, that gets the letter A, and then the next letter is the letter B. So every puppy in that litter has a name that starts with that letter. And then obviously with the donors, there is an option that if a donor wants to give $5,000 or more, they are given the opportunity to name a puppy. And they can say what breed, what gender, what color, specifically for labs. So then when that letter comes around and matches up with that litter, then that name can be used.
Okay. All right. And the final audience question we have is, what is the difference between a puppy raiser and a puppy sitter?
So a puppy raiser is the person who has the dog 24/7. So we apply through the seeing eye, we get assigned a puppy. We have it from 7 weeks old to about 16 to 18 months. Puppy sitter is someone who's very interested in the club, and when raisers have long classes, work, need a break, they take the dog for a couple hours, sometimes overnight or like a week, if someone's going on vacation, and they watch the dog.
So do you guys, as the executive board, train those people to, what the dog needs? Or is that like in a club meeting, or how does that go about?
We have new member meetings where we teach everybody the commands that we use, how to handle our pups. We have a little quiz that kind of goes over some different things that you need to know, such as where our dogs are allowed to go and where they aren't allowed to go, some common toys that they're allowed to have, but stuff like that. And then they get certified and they're able to sit puppies. And then in order to raise that, they have to sit a certain number of hours, get experience with their puppies, and then they can, if they choose to, apply to raise.
All right. So the last question, which everybody, when they do see this, they'll want to see, is if we can meet everyone's dog. If all you ladies want to just kind of give like a brief description about the dog.
Okay. I need to go last because I have to go get my dog. So
Sure,
I will
fair
be
enough.
right back.
I have Eva right here, so I guess I can start with Eva. So this is Eva. Eva, look right here, right there. This is Eva. She is a 9-ish month old lab golden cross. So she looks just like a lab, but she actually has a really cute curly coat, like a golden. She's really sweet. As you can tell, she's very cuddly. She's definitely on the smaller side. She's no more than like 50 pounds. So she's definitely on the smaller side, but super cute, super loving, likes to work. And I have been fortunate enough to keep in touch with some of her siblings with their puppy raisers. And it sounds like they're all pretty similar in personality, and they're all on the smaller side, which works out well for the seeing eye anyway. Can you look at the camera instead of facing away from the camera? Look right here. There's Eva. No, she just wants to be part of it. Thank you.
All right. Oh, I can go. So let me see here. All right. So this is Frances. She is the third puppy that I've raised for the seeing eye. She is a female yellow Labrador Retriever crossed with Golden Retriever. She is 9 months old and she is very spunky. She's the most happy and lovable pup that I've had so far. She definitely can always be found curled up by my feet. She's definitely a people person. She is silly. She loves to roll over on her back at any time for belly scratches. So she's definitely a spunky little dog. So I'm looking forward to see how her journey continues.
This is Henley. She wants to lay down. Come here, come. Good girl. She is a 14-month-old lab golden retriever cross. She's the first puppy I've raised, and being able to see everything that she can do, it's absolutely amazing. Just the way that she handles herself, and like Caitlin said with her puppy, you pull out the vest And she just gets so excited and knows that, like, that means she dropped a bone, I'm sorry. That means that she gets to work, and she absolutely loves to do that. She's so loving. You probably saw her frequently walk over and just give me kisses, because that's about what she does. She's like, oh, mom's sitting there, I'm gonna give her kisses.
So you're almost ready to trade her in. You're almost ready to bring her back then, correct? With 16 months?
She's 14 months now. Her estimate is somewhere between May and June to return to the Seeing Eye for formal training.
I unfortunately do not have a dog right now. As I
Right.
said, my dog returned to the Seeing Eye on Wednesday, and I'm currently waiting on dog number 2. So currently dogless in the house.
How long does it take for them to place you? Did they give you an estimate amount of time, Caitlin, or?
So I'm a little bit different. I don't raise 7-week-old puppies like generally a lot of raisers do. Well, so if you're raising 7-week-old puppy, there's a much better, you're on a list and they can tell you you're 15th in line. We just had 4 litters born who each had, I don't know, there were 12 puppies born. So next litter, you get one, and you kind of like can plan out that way. I do older dogs only, so unfortunately, there's not really a good timeline. It's just kind of, dogs pop up, like Taylor said, people move, they get injured, need surgery, their job changes, their life changes, life happens. So dogs pop up and need to be moved, but unfortunately, there's not a great timeline for that, but dog number 2 should be here shortly.
Again, for people that are listening, this was Nicole, Caitlin, Taylor, and Erin, and we thank them for coming on. They are from the UD Puppy Club. If you want to find more about this club, it's udpuppyclub.com. And again, the organization in general, the CNI organization, it's www.cni.org. Anything else, guys, before we end this conversation that you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, just one final plug. The Seeing Eye is actively recruiting for new puppy raisers. So if you live in the counties and areas that we did talk about, there's actually a link on the website, theseeingeye.org, about raising a puppy. If you're interested and you want to see if you live in the county, we are searching for new puppy raisers. So definitely hit that website and seek out some information if you're looking, because we have puppies and we're looking to add more people to our big family. So if you're interested, definitely hit that website and there's information to be found there.
All right, well, guys, thanks so much for your time. Again, the UD Puppy Club, udpuppyclub.com, cni.org. Definitely check this out. It's a valuable organization. And again, ladies, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on with us. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.